Hi everyone. This week's case study is, as always, another interesting one. This gentleman, as you'll see in the pictures, he had one hip that was more laterally or externally rotated, so his left was more laterally rotated than his right. He actually came in regards to symptoms and dysfunction, he came in with a L4-5 disc herniation. So his symptoms were left glute pain, kind of radiating into his hip, and getting some anterior groin and hip pain as well. At current level, he was about a 5 out of a 10. He's had a couple epidural shots already, which seemed to help a little bit. But he wants to resume activity, and he just can't. Anytime he starts to do any activity, he just ends up re-injuring it. So a couple of things we found, like I just said, his left hip was more externally rotated than his right, and you'll see that with the pictures. He had pretty significant flexion in his T-spine. Right shoulder was depressed, and then when I palpated his low back, the left paraspinals, there was no activation there at all. I mean, it was completely shut down, whereas on his right side, he had pretty good activity of the paraspinals. So that was really important because that's going to tie right into what's happening with that left hip, with that external rotation in his left hip. So what we did, we started him with the abductor presses, or the knee presses, which were the knees together, feet wide. And then we did the pillow squeezes, which you guys are all familiar with. And then from there, I went into a one-arm, the counter stretch, where you reach across to get that big lat stretch that ties right down into the low back. And I did that more just to get some T-spine mobility. So by getting that lat to release, it actually helped allow him to become more vertical, because again, I said there was too much flexion in his T-spine. So from there, we went into the hamstring stretch with the legs up the wall, as you'll see in those pictures. And then, now that was to get the hamstrings to release with his feet completely straight ahead. So again, if someone's actually rotated and you put them up there and they want to go into external rotation, you want them to keep their feet straight ahead so they get the proper stretch of the hamstrings and the gastroc and the plantaris and all those muscles that cross over the knee joint. From there, we went into rotations. So his legs are up the wall. We did femur rotations, and that was just to get some more hip mobility so that the pelvis would drop into the floor. And then from there, we went into the reverse floor block, which is the arms at 45, doing the rotation back. And that was more just to, not so much just to get the T-spine activated, but actually tie into that thoracolumbar junction, where it's going to get activation of the paraspinals, and that was going to help get a little bit more of an anterior tilt in his pelvis, but again, get more of that bilateral activation of the paraspinals. And then I ended with just that quadruped position, where he's on his hands and knees going into a sway back, and we just had him hold that for about a minute and a half. And it was pretty cool, because when he got done, he actually felt better, and his posture changed considerably. Unfortunately, we didn't take the after pictures of that, but more importantly, I wanted to show you the asymmetry in the hips, because again, level 2 cert's coming up, and that's what we're going to be talking about, is these the hip, knee, foot, ankle dysfunctions. So if you guys have any questions, shoot me a question on the member site, and stay tuned for next week.